Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are back here. That is right. That is Mr. Sean himself, Cloud9 Chef, hanging out with me today, filling in here last minute. Unfortunately, his webcam is stuck in that very smug position of his, which you can't see yet, but you will on the stream here in a couple minutes. You'll see which one I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure I've seen that picture used here before, but thanks for hanging out with me, man. How are you doing today?
No problem. Doing good. Had an eventful day. Now hopefully we'll have a cool eventful night.
Yeah, you got to cast all the Titan Arena, which I helped admin with. That was a awesome tournament, man. Those games between Templestowe and Maelstrom, those were phenomenal games, man.
Yes, they were.
So we're going to get into the second series of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is a best of 3 in the Heroes Premier League, season number 2. After a long and grueling qualifier season, these teams are the ones who have gave it their all and made it through the very, very just long-winded tournament qualifying season that we went with. The two teams that we're going to see today are Actions Per Minute, also known as APM, and FKC Vulture, who is actually a Peruvian team who were in the last qualifiers, got into the final of the qualifiers. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, they actually weren't able to finish their scheduled matches. And per rules, which is clearly stated, the other team said, we don't want to reschedule, so unfortunately they had to forfeit. But due to some rosters being changed and some teams dropping from HPL, they were able to slide into the season last minute. So here they are. We're going to see them. And I have to say, the last time I saw them, I was pretty impressed with their play. Not blown away, but definitely they had good rotations. Their team fighting were pretty on point. Their positioning was all right. And again, they were able to get to the finals of a qualifier. So they definitely, we're pretty close to making it all the way here. We're
So like 0.5 tempo storm, 0.7 tempo storm.
I'll go with 7.25.
7 tempo storms?
Yep.
They're 7 times as good?
Oh, 7 times? I thought you said point. No,
Well, I was going with
0.725.
points.
0.725. Correct.
All right.
So not quite 3/4, but the draft is underway here. Let's get into that draft, Chef. Let me give you the link. You probably want the link, don't you?
I do.
Yes, that would be just wonderful for you.
I can just imagine. It's going to be what? Ban Illidan.
Oh, are you?
The other ban is, let's say, Uther.
Wrong
Stitches.
and wrong.
What a failure I
am. So FKC Insane Vultures banning out the Stitches, which is an interesting ban. I don't know if they caught the memo, but there was a patch a couple of weeks ago. But nonetheless, if they don't want to deal with the hook, the gorge, and whatnot, they don't want to deal with that on Cursed Hollow. Stitches obviously does have a little bit more strength on Cursed Hollow just due to the nature of how the map works. And then Actions Per Minute, banning out the Uther. And this is something that Actions Per Minute does quite frequently. They ban out either Rhaegar or Uther all the time. Going back and looking at their drafts just the past month, it's almost exclusively banning either Uther or Rhaegar, depending on if they're a first pick and the map and whatnot. If they aren't able to get... What'd you say?
Why do you think that is?
Well, probably due to the fact that there's 3 core supports right now, and also due to the meta of that teams wanting to run, your teams having the duo healer kind of strategies in their pocket, that banning out an Uther can kind of, cut that out from under the heels right away, unless they want to go in with maybe some suboptimal heroes. Rhaegar is being picked up by FKC, so they sniffed out the Uther ban, and they wanted to pick up the other, what is widely considered, parallel equaled Rhaegar. However, I've been talking to a lot of people, and it seems like a lot of teams, give me your opinion on this, Chef, feel like Rhaegar isn't the best solo healing support.
I mean, like... Oh boy, you have to be kind of a little bit more specific. I mean, Rhaegar's solo healing support is amazing. He's actually one of the best, as far as I know. Lily's probably the best. Lily's obviously very good at like AOE healing and stuff.
Yeah.
But Rhaegar with both the healing ward, his Q is actually very mana efficient. And then later on, his Q does extra damage to healing other people. So as far as I know, he's way more efficient than Uther, for instance, as a single target healer. If you compare him to Malf, Malf can heal more, with strength with an ult.
Right.
But before the ult, Rhaegar still does much more healing. If you take the talents for it, at least, because it bounces, right? So one healer can heal up everyone a little bit, whereas Malf only heals one person. Later on, obviously, you can get Seed of Life and stuff that helps Malf, but as a solo healer, I think Maelstrom and Tempo Storm in the finals of Arena were just running him by himself. quite a bit.
Okay, right on. Yeah, that's interesting because I was talking to some other European players who thought Rhaegar. Obviously, Europe has a little bit different output, but they actually feel like Rhaegar is only good unless he's in like a duo situation. At least the people I was talking to over there. Obviously, there's always some a little bit of different views on the meta right now between the two oceans. But we're in North America, damn it. Let's talk about that. Actions per minute picking up the tried and true duo of Illidan and Tassadar. Illidan really making just a huge comeback in the meta as of recently due to a multitude of factors. And generally, when you see an Illidan, you also want to see that Tassadar being picked up with them. We've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. Tassadar really just supplements Illidan's tool sets very well, allows him to mitigate that damage so he just doesn't get blown up. He's able to use first aid, dodge abilities with Metamorphosis, and he's also able to, the more auto attacks he gets, obviously, the more he can use his skill set. So they complement each other very, very well, and usually we see those two being picked up with each other any opportunity that teams get when they can pick up an Illidan.
Yep, it's hard to pick Illidan without Tast, and I mean, you can pick Tast whenever on certain maps,
Right,
but yeah,
yeah.
it definitely helps to have both. The next pick, I think it's going to be Nazeebo. Nazeebo's probably the next top DPS on Cursed Hollow, but it could be anything. These guys may want a top tier tank.
There it is. Chef,
Cool.
it's like you know something about this game on a
Yeah,
professional
dude.
level.
Weird, right?
That's incredible, man. I thought you were just like a StarCraft 2 player. This is crazy.
Well, no, you just transverse it to StarCraft, right? All right, they have the
Oh,
Protoss.
yeah.
They
Yeah,
have
there
the
you go.
Demon, which let's just say it's Protoss 2. And they
Okay.
want the third Protoss, the Protoss with the huge demon that shoots out, right? So
Yeah.
it's Nazeebo. There you go.
And it seems like we're a lot of teams love picking up that Nazeebo and Malfurion together. Obviously, you get someone caught in a roots, you land a Ravenous Spirit on top of them, and that's just a devastating combination that can just blow anyone up if they're not prepared for it. And as well as they have really good early game lane synergy. Obviously, Witch Doctor with Innervate, just a mana battery for him to span his abilities, push lanes in, and do some poking damage later on, especially in Cursed Hollow when he can just kind of throw his spiders, throw his zombie walls, and whatnot. But and also, I feel like Malfurion it feels like it could be a little bit of a denial pickup as well, so that way FKC doesn't get a Malfurion Rhaegar as well, and also because Malfurion's Tranquility is it can do a pretty good job at helping mitigate Ravenous Spirit. Not completely, but it definitely can mitigate it fairly effectively. And look at this next pickup from FKC, picking up the Zeratul. What do you think about that? Zeratul is a hero we don't see that much more of anymore.
Oh, he's great. Cursed Hollow, he's going to be kind of roaming, you'd think. He usually works the best as a roamer. With their comp, so far they have ETC, and then they kind of have Vala and Siege Hammer, which is, I guess, pretty much a protect the hammer comp usually. So like if they dive the hammer, VP the people who aren't on the hammer, try and kill the people who are killing the hammer. In this case, it's going to be Illidan's in Aerith, we're VPing the rest. Diablo's in Aerith, we're VPing the rest. Or Fire Breath, look out, VP the Diablo.
Yeah. I definitely like that choice there quite a bit now that I see the draft in its entirety. Sergeant Hammer being a 5th pick, that's something you don't see very often.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here. I will give these guys a go-ahead to get into the game when they feel like it. Casters are good. So now that you're seeing the entire arc of both the drafts on these teams, Chef, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like one team came ahead, or is it a wash? What are you thinking right now?
Well, let's go ahead and I guess talk about the synergy. So Diablo runs in, Illidan runs in, you have Task kind of sitting in the middle, throwing shields, throwing storms, trying to kill someone on the insane vultures. Nazeebo kind of just trying to look for a hidden place to throw his ult down, and Malf just trying to stay in the middle of everyone and heal, potentially. So they have kind of a dive comp with Nazeebo and a couple of shields and some storms. Insane vultures, on the other hand, have like what's their damage? They don't really have any way to engage in.
Yeah.
Actions per minute has a flip from Diablo, a grab from Diablo, stuff like that. Insane Vultures, alright, they can Void Prism. They don't have a wombo off of it, though, right? So, alright, you VP them, they kind of run away. You VP them, I don't know, maybe you can slow them with Walla, but it's not going to be a tremendous amount of slow. They don't have much to kind of stun lock. There's pretty much no stuns at all on Insane Vulture.
Yeah, I noticed that. Do you feel like maybe Tyrande over Zeratul would have been a little bit more optimal, or do you think that Zeratul is still a solid pick?
Well, their comp's not built to need stuns, kind of, or they don't want stuns with this comp. It's like, all right,
Okay.
so we have ETC, we're going to kind of stage dive in. Or even kind of, we have Siege Tank, right? We can force them to engage us because we can shoot from a super long ways away. It's okay. It's just going to be like a very passive game until like mid-late game, and then, all right, we're going to push with it. So they just hope that Hammer is strong enough, and it may be. I mean, Illidan is kind of the counter to Hammer, so it's kind of interesting to see them just because he can flip in or morph in over things and get on the hammer if he needs to. But at the moment, kind of similar drafts. It's hard to know until you see them play. I've never seen either of these teams play, so.
I've seen FKC play once, and that was in the qualifiers. And like I said, they, for being a relatively new team, I was pretty impressed. They were playing like a team that's been playing together for a while, and they do have some latency issues. Not quite as bad as if you're playing from Europe, because they are playing from South America. A Peruvian team showing up here at the HPL, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And actions per minute, they've had some varying levels of success. In ESL Go for Heroes number 9, they made it to the finals. In number 10, they made it to the semis. They lost to Murlocs. In 11, they went to the semifinals again. But in ESL Go for Heroes 11, they made it to the semifinals, and they lost to Tempo Storm in a very close game. It was actually very, very impressive. Though after that, their success kind of dwindled a little bit. The following 2 weeks, they were knocked out in the first round of ESL Go for Heroes. And also, they haven't had too much success, rather. Whoa, boy. Too much success in Kings of the Storm. Haven't really been able to translate much there. But hopefully, maybe they're going to hit their stride.
That sex life is very impactful.
Yes.
On how good you are at this game.
The game is underway here. Let's go ahead and introduce these teams, Sean. Over on the left side of your map is going to be actions per minute. You have Nguyen playing the Tassadar, Namus on the Illidan, who I believe is a new 5th member for them, if that's what Sage told me. The Witch Doctor...
wait, the game is up?
Yeah, were you not in the lobby?
No.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
I don't see you in the lobby either. I see you in menus. Yeah.
I'm in the game right now. I swear. Hold on. I'm not hallucinating, am I?
I don't know.
No, I'm good. Yeah, we're in here.
Okay.
That's okay. Hey, just look at the stream and we'll analyze 2 minutes on delay. No problem. We'll consider this a challenge, a casting challenge, damn it. But the match is underway. Sage playing the Witch Doctor, as I mentioned, Meadowtown on the Malfurion. And up in the top lane is going to be Namus on the Illidan. Over here on the red team is... That is so weird, Chef. Vala playing the Sergeant Hammer, not the Demon Hunter. On the Zeratul is Neo. ETC being picked up by the Lelandu. And over in the bottom lane is going to be Crozer on Rhaegar and Lunar Wolf, on the Vala Demon Hunter. So we have a Sergeant Hammer named Vala, and we have a Vala named Lunar Wolf. This is going to be good. Level 1 Talon Chef, I'll go ahead and throw you a bone here. Looks like some pretty standard stuff across the board. Illidan picking up a Region Master over Evasion at level 1. I mean, what do you feel about that? Is that's something that we actually have seen quite a bit so far in the past week or so, at least I have.
It's kind of standard for the new meta. The idea just being that, eventually there's going to be this period where you're in a fight and you want health back, and the amount of health back you're going to get from the regen is going to be more than from whatever other talents you get. So it's just a way to keep Illidan alive, and in late game, which is what a lot of these games go to, it's just helpful.
So as you mentioned, there actually has been quite some early game roaming on the side of actions per minute. It's just a solo roamer in Diablo. They only have the Witch Doctor down in the bottom lane. He's going up against a Rhaegar and a Demon Hunter. He's doing an okay job at dealing with the push from them, but I feel like this early game aggression roaming really hasn't translated into much, though actions per minute has actually put 3 people in the top lane, and this is the lane their boss doesn't go to. So they're putting pressure on kind of the off lane position, if you will, the lane that the boss doesn't go to. Why do you think they're doing something like that right now?
Which team is doing it?
Actions per minute. They're on the left side of the map, but they're pressuring top lane.
Just to kind of throw after their team. It's not necessarily anything tremendous. They don't want to fight the Vala. Vala has a stronger laning phase than Nazeebo. So they're just like, rather than lose the fight to Nazeebo Rhaegar, they're going to probably just go top and try and just fight clear for clear.
So the first tribute is here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be right in the top lane, the one right in the mid line, kind of the line of symmetry, this line of scrimmage, if you will, in the mid lane. And both these teams are committing 4v4 and leaving one member in the bottom lane. No mercenary camps were taken, so no passive lane pressure is going to be done right now. They went ahead and foregone those mercenaries and want to get this first tribute. Big contention over it. There is the initiation on to the Vala Sergeant Hammer. Good body blocking so far. He's going to be going down here. First blood going the way actions per minute. They got to be careful, though. Namus is very low. He doesn't have that first aid to fall back on quite yet. They do have 2 healing wards, though. So 2 healing wards on top of the Malfurion Hots, and that is a lot of sustain coming out for actions per minute. They are going to get 2 kills off the back of this, the tribute as well, getting themselves not only a little bit of an experience advantage, but just the momentum already going their way here in the early game.
Great.
I'm so sorry, Sean. I didn't know what happened. I thought you were in the game and everything. I guess it just was a bug. That's so weird that you see me in the menu and not in the lobby. I'm sorry about that. We'll make sure that we get you in the next one here, man. I guess you can just kind of give us the afterthoughts 2 minutes as the stream as the stream goes on here. Level 7.
I'm trying to imagine it. I just.
Hey, I'm trying to paint you a picture, man. That's my job as a play-by-play caster, right? I want to paint you the picture of what's going on.
I'll get used to it. I just need some more practice.
It's all good, man. So Illidan picking up the first aid, pretty standard. Immolation at level 4. Like I said, the double healing ward with the Tassadar and Malfurion respectively. That's a lot of AoE, you know, healing, and not only that, but it's complemented so very well by the Malfurion's skill set to begin with, especially if he goes with that life seed at level 16. It's just such a massive amount of AoE sustain in these team fights, and that's the reason why we see Malfurion picked up. His burst healing isn't necessarily the best. Obviously, in Uther Rhaegar, they have the best burst healing in the game, but against a team who, you know, doesn't have a huge amount of burst, I would say. I don't know, I actually have a pretty substantial amount of burst with the Zeratul, you know, and with the Vala as well. That's
anti-burst, so no big deal there.
Yeah, that's true. With the shields and everything like that, so they definitely have the tools to mitigate a lot of the damage and maybe win these team fights through a war of attrition. Because Rhaegar, it feels like once he's spent his ancestral healing and his chain heal and his healing ward, which he did go at level 1, I feel like that they can just, you know, they can play defensively in these team fights because they have the better sustain in these team fights, and just kind of, like I said, win through attrition if they decide to play it out like that. The second tribute spawned right over here by the boss in the bottom lane on the actions per minute side of the map. It went completely uncontested. Now, the FKC went ahead and they knew they didn't want to fight that because they just kept people, all 3 members in every single lane, soaking efficiently. They are still down a little bit in experience. Level 10 is definitely going to go to actions per minute first, no question about that. But FKC absolutely has enough time before the next tribute spawns to get on even level and get themselves the heroics. And, well, they're going to fall back, pick up their bruiser camp. It's going to go into the mid lane, apply some pressure, and at the same time, actions per minute is going to mimic their action or mirror it and get that as well. And there it is, Diablo picking up the Apocalypse. What do you feel like Apocalypse is? What's Apocalypse advantage over Breathfire right now, or Fire Breath?
All right. Well, Siege Tank is obviously a very slow-moving hero. So right. In a situation where a Siege Tank is sieged up, and you know, oh my God, what do I do to deal with it? You can press R, and the Siege Tank will at least be stunned for a couple minutes. It's pretty much impossible until Hover Siege to get out of an Apocalypse if you're not ready for it. Other than that, maybe just if the rest of the team is in BP and you're worried about them, you can use Epoch to kind of get out of it. Although, you know, me personally, I probably would have taken Lightning Breath to deal with the ETC, the Zeratul, and the Rhaegar. Yeah. But that's okay. Epoch isn't a bad choice here. It's just not specifically targeted at probably any one thing. He has battle momentum, so it'll be up relatively soon. Or he actually doesn't have battle momentum.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he went with the Endless Death instead, almost 150. So both 10s are level 10, and FKC definitely is the one under pressure to do something here because 2 tributes have already gone the way of actions per minute. If they get 1, that's going to be a curse, and that's going to translate to a big mid-game advantage. There's the Apocalypse. Ravenous Spirit is going down. It is tearing apart FKC right now, followed up with a 3-man Apocalypse. It's looking so very well for them right now. Archon was in the back line, just tearing them apart. Namus doing exactly what you predicted, Chef. He is latching on to Sergeant Hammer and is not giving up. Actually going to take down the Illidan as well. It looks like Meadowtown actually having a little bit of some internet problems. He keeps disconnecting and coming back to the game. Hopefully that's not going to impact this game too much. Right now it doesn't look like that because they are on a tear right now. They're going to end up getting the Sergeant Hammer. He thought he was going to be able to get away, but right as he got away, they pulled him right back in. Al Pacino Cappuccino, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, APM is looking absolutely dominating. That is a 4-for-0 exchange. They get a curse, 2 levels up, and now they're going to get themselves some map objectives pretty much throughout the whole entire map. Top lane is pushed in. This fort's going to be going down. 5 members of actions per minute in the mid lane. They're going to be pushing down this fort. Bottom lane also getting pushed down as well. So this is looking real good for actions per minute right now.
Very nice, very nice. There is this point now for the next 80 seconds or so where Diablo is not going to have an ult, and FKC can try their best to engage, fight, bully around the map. Depending on, I mean, I don't know how many levels they're down. If they're down like 2 levels, it probably doesn't matter. But 1 level, you know, trade difference for Diablo, it's probably fine. Love to see if they're aggressive here. Back it up.
Yeah, FKC is actually, APM is getting FKC's boss. However, FKC is posturing to defend it. They got to be careful here because they are down level 13. The point is there, and Chester Healing going down a little bit premature. I think it might have been a misclick there. Tassadar does go down. So right now it's a 4v5 exchange. This is looking okay for FKC. Diablo going down. He's going to be back in a minute. Meadowtown getting torn apart. So a strong defense from FKC right here, Chef. They were able, down a talent and down a man, were able to go into their boss and end up not only getting a 3-final exchange going their way, but also picked up their own boss. So FKC showing signs of life. Now they have level 13, and this is a great window of opportunity to do something, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're actually all 5 swinging immediately after they won that team fight. Looked at the minimap, all 5 of them are swinging down to the boss. It looks like they're having some hesitation, though, right now, Sean, because they initially were going down to the boss, and now they're not going to the boss. I feel like they're, you know, feeling a little bit confused as to what to do right now. It looks like they're going to just... Actually, Sergeant Hammer's going to get picked off here. Oh, my lord. He's out of position. Yeah, a lot of miscommunication going on right now from FKC, which is quite unfortunate because they just had a great opportunity to do something, and unfortunately, that opportunity has now gone away and just didn't translate into much. Now, this is going to allow actions per minute to get their own boss. And once again, get themselves onto the map. Bottom lane is susceptible to this boss that they're getting. These tier 2 towers are going to be under siege from them. Meanwhile, top lane, FKC's boss they're able to get is going to manage to get the first fort of the game for FKC. That's going to be going down. But forts at this stage of the game, they really don't translate into too much of a big experience boost. They're both teams are level 14, level 15, just being hit by actions per minute.
Yep, that was kind of the timing that FKC needed to do something. Is whenever Diablo's ult's down, you go for it. As a flip thing, the counter to Diablo's ult in the past used to actually be Bloodlust on Rhaegar. Obviously you went Ancestral, but just something kind of to think about where, alright, you see a Diablo ult, and you Bloodlust, everyone escapes, no big deal. You also have, I guess a ball and a siege tank, which would benefit from it. I guess not too many, but yeah, it was the old counter to it.
Yeah, Vala definitely has substantial right click. Sergeant Hammer's right click is substantial as well. Obviously, Vala going the patented multi-shot build, not doing any auto attack shenanigans or anything like that. And also, I was going to say, maybe if ETC went Battle Momentum with Bloodlust, that can actually translate. That's actually what I call the Rarjar build. I know he loves going Battle Momentum on ETC. I talk to him all the time. But when I first picked up ETC, I was like, Rarjar, what build do I go? And he told me the build that to go is one no one actually goes. So I call it the Rarjar build from now on. Anytime I do a build and someone calls me bad, I just fall back and say Rarjar told me to do it. And it's fine. Then I just get to put the blame on him. It works great.
You know, real life's gonna happen, and I'm gonna make a mistake and be like, "All right, Rarjar told me to do it." You know, you can blame him in anything in your lives. Oh well, please come for you. You did something horrible wrong. Just be like, Rarjar. If you want his address and personal information, I'll send you his social and stuff. Just let me know. At trending Rarjar. For blame Rarjar. Get some celebrities to blame Rarjar, and now we've got promoting heroes to the masses. This could be how Heroes becomes the biggest game.
Rarjar, thank you for all your sacrifice, Rarjar. There is a team fight here going between these two teams. FKC has to be careful. Avoid Prison onto 4. The Mosh Pit follow-up into the Rain of Vengeance. I don't know if this is going to be enough, though. Tranquility is being used. The Metamorphosis and Apocalypse actually completely whiffed. No, I'm sorry. Actually, that hit 4 people. Good lord, that's tearing them apart right now. And that Ravenous Spirit is doing so much work. For a moment, it looks like none of them got hit. And then I'm like, wait, they all got hit. That's crazy. Even with the level 16 advantage, they were able to get themselves a successful team fight there, Sean. Diablo did end up getting picked off. 2 went down for FKC, and once again, another tribute going their way. And I feel like the big name of the game right there was he landed a 4-man Void Prison. You'll see right in this choke point right here, kind of in the tribute spawn in the top lane, the one that's a little bit lower than right at the line of scrimmage. And the follow-up wasn't there. The Mosh Pit did hit 4 people, but a lot of the heroics overlapped. And I feel like due to that, the damage wasn't quite as efficient as they needed, especially with the Malfurion actually was able to ice block and get Tranquility off. The damage wasn't there, and they just got turned around on. And that's kind of what I was talking about before, where I feel like that if actions per minute, you know, is able to survive through that, they definitely have the upper hand. The longer a team fight goes, I feel like they definitely have the upper hand just due to the nature of the draft.
All right.
I don't know if you're seeing that team fight quite yet, but
not yet, but it's okay. Vala's like Rain of Vengeance, which is cool. It can, you know, apply to the people in the ETC ults. It is tough to time it, like you said. These enemies just want the damage to get down. Either way, I'm sure it was a nice fight. What are they taking in the map now?
Right now, another tribute just spawned. The one right at the line of scrimmage, very top lane, just south of the top lane. And it looks like it's might get one contested here. FKC is definitely not in a good position. They were initially all rotating up there, all 5 of them. Actions per minute is already in a strong position. Diablo's in the bush just southeast of it. They're going to get it pretty much uncontested. They're pinging the boss a lot. The north boss for FKC is about to spawn here in 2 seconds. FKC is already in a position. Actually, Mr. Savage on Diablo, he's caught out from the rest of his team. He's got to be careful. he looks like he is going to have a good exit strategy to get out of there, but a little bit of a miscommunication from Actions per Minute, because 3 of them are over here posturing by the boss. Meanwhile, Illidan and Tassadar are getting the siege camp over in the north part. Neither of these teams really want to commit to this boss right now. They both have level 16 talents, so they are on even level when it comes to talents. Last time this happened, FKC was down a talent and actually came out ahead significantly. We mentioned before, though, they weren't able to translate that advantage into much of anything. They had just, felt a little sloppy, a little lackadaisical with the time that they had. They were going all over the map. Really, it didn't flow that well with each other. And both of these teams are actually falling back away from this boss. Neither teams really want to commit too hard. Another tribute being spawned here down in the south, just south of the mid lane. Sage completely caught out of position. And now, actually, he's going to get healed up. Neo needs to be careful that he's going to be able to blink away here. ETC getting dunked. A 2-man Void Prison onto Sage and Mr. Savage. There's a Rain of Vengeance, but once again, the Rain of Vengeance got overlapped into Apocalypse. Apocalypse does catch 2, and Illidan Metamorphosis is going to town right now, though, and the turnaround is absolutely real right now, Sean. They just got absolutely blown up with a uncontested Ravenous Spirit in the back lines, just tore them apart. Tranquility is just doing so much work in these team fights. They don't have the damage to get anyone down through a Tranquility, and they're overlapping their heroics when they are able to get a good Void Prison down. I feel like that's the name of these team fights and why this game has not been going the way of FKC.
Yeah, if you had asked me if I thought Rhaegar was a great solo healer against a Nazeebo, my answer probably would have been no, not as good as pretty much anyone else. Just because while he can heal everyone up, his burst healing for everyone is not too high. He saves people from burst or from anything like that. But with the Nazeebo ult, with APOC, with Storms, there's a lot of just AoE damage from Actions per Minute, which can make Rhaegar's ult kind of hard to make useful, right? Like, you use it on one person when they're 50%. What about when everyone's at 50%? Maybe at level 20 it gets better if you take the one where AoE is kind of around him a little bit.
Yeah.
But until then, it's not going to be probably as effective as, like you said, the mouth heal, or even Tassadar can heal just about as well as a Rhaegar against the huge giants.
Now, obviously, Brightwing was nerfed considerably. Do you think Brightwing would have been okay in this position, or just maybe with Gust of Healing or anything like that, or do you feel like she's just unfortunately not strong enough anymore?
Well, alright, so you take her for your cleanse in general. So if you don't go for cleanse with Brightwing, now you're going for Blink Heal and for the Regenerative Rains. So Regenerative Rains, you kind of have to be inside the ult. As a healer, you really don't want to be taking damage and right where all your damage dealers are.
Oh my, hold that thought, Sean, because right now, Actions per Minute is actually, they got to be careful here. I'm sorry, not Actions per Minute, FKC has to be careful. I didn't realize this the whole entire time. A boss was pushing down top lane completely uncontested. FKC was dragging their feet a little bit, and a keep went down. No contention whatsoever while you were talking about that. That is a big deal. I don't know why FKC weren't able to pick up on that. It was pretty obvious what was going on, but unfortunately, they were able to, or not, I guess fortunately for Actions per Minute, they were able to get that top keep. Now they are pushing a bottom lane with a boss and a Siege Ogre in tow in this bottom lane. They are pushing, and they are pushing hard. Meadowtown is feeling cocky because he is leading the charge right now. He does have Ice Block, so he does have that to fall back on if he gets initiated on him. I almost feel like he's inviting him to initiate on him. Namus is taking a lot of damage from the Fall of the Demon Hunter, but he's just going to evasion. He's going to use his first aid, get healed up. Bottom keep now dead to rights, and cue the Imperial Death March right now here, Chef, because they are pushing the core with a 2/3 HP Golem. A Siege Ogre's picking away at it as well. They're not over-committing, they're just posturing, and right as I say that, they commit on to a well-placed Malfurion Roots on the Lunar Flare. He's going to get blown up. This is already a 4v5. Void Prison was way too late, and this is not looking good for FKC whatsoever. FKC might be able to make somewhat of a defense here in the team fight, but the name of the game right now, the story of this, is that the core is being completely torn apart by the boss, and that's exactly what happens. The core goes down, Actions per Minute, taking that game in a very convincing manner. FKC, unfortunately, not having what it takes this time around to get themselves a victory. I felt like they were on the back foot from the beginning. And Chef, since you were so very into that game and knew what was going on at every second, what did you think about that match?
Well, definitely seemed like FKC didn't have enough damage, right? Hammer late game can be good, but it just wasn't enough to stack on the VP. Zeratul just didn't do enough, couldn't out-damage the heal that Malf and Tassadar brought, plus Illidan's really hard to kill, Diablo's very hard to kill, and then Nazeebo, Nazeebo's not even going to be in your sight at this point. He's just going to be ulting from super far away. They had no real way to stop that, or they never used Void Prisms to stop the Nazeebo ult, which was probably the main source of just killing everyone in FKC. For most of the fights I saw.
Well, let's see if they regroup, get in a huddle. They maybe listen to some Phil Collins. They can feel it in the air tonight because they do not want to get 2-0'd here, Sean. I don't think they did not come into this game thinking about that. The last time I saw these two teams face, it was a very hard-fought 2-1 in the favor of actions per minute. So I definitely know that FKC has what it takes to take games off of this team. And we're going to see here in just a little bit here, guys. We're going to take a very small break. Game 2 is going to be coming at you here in just a moment. Stay tuned, and we'll see you. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again. Thank you for spending your night with us. This is going to be the second game between Actions Per Minute and FKC Insane Vultures. A very interesting team nonetheless. An interesting team, I think, throughout. Being a Peruvian team, bringing a little bit of that international flavor to the tournament. Always a fan of that. Joined with me, as you can tell, is the disembodied voice of Sheth. That smug look on his face, I absolutely love it so very much. But you all know him as the very modest and always very, very deeply compassionate, handsome man. What do you think of that last game that you weren't in?
Actions per minute looked dominant. No real word other than dominant. Insane Vultures kind of couldn't get it together, couldn't combo it, couldn't do enough damage, couldn't out-heal the Tassadar mouth of Actions per minute. Wouldn't be surprised to see Actions per minute drop the exact same thing. Insane Vultures kind of has to come up with a way to counter it, because, I mean, they got Bala, they had the kind of pick order they wanted, but it just wasn't good enough, in my opinion. They may try and take Tass here to keep it away from the Illidan. Maybe Vala Tass seems like a nice choice from Insane Vultures. I don't know if they'll do it. They may kind of think they have to do something special to deal with Tass, or to do with Illidan. We'll see.
Yep, so as I mentioned, APM, just through looking through their past draft, man, they always ban Uthra Rhaegar. And then if they can get their hands on Illidan, they get their hands on Illidan. Let me go ahead and get that draft to you once again. I apologize, Sean. I am just not on the ball today. I don't know.
I'm in the draft.
Oh, you're in the draft? Okay, good.
You
excellent.
got it to me.
Ha! Nailed it.
You're good.
Sweet. Let me get in here. There we go. Okay, so yeah, the notes I have, because I dug deep, man. I went back and I looked at the draft of every single one of these teams for the past 30 days in every single tournament that I could dig up from them in Stormcraft. It took a little while, but you know what? I want to be prepared for this, right? And Actions per Minute always exclusively banned out either Uthra or Rhaegar. If they weren't able to get Illidan, then they would get ETC or Vala. Almost like that. That literally was their draft for like a month straight. So teams who are listening, I did all the work for you. You're welcome. But I actually talked to Sage about it, and he actually confirmed that. And it's but they're actually trying out a little bit different strategies because they have a new 5th Actions per Minute. But you can't even tell by looking at that last game. But now you're in the lobby, so we should be all right this time around. So looking at the draft so far, once again, a Stitches ban from FKC. What do you think it is that is making them feel so afraid of having to deal with that Stitches?
So Stitches is a hero you ban if you think you're way better than the other team.
Okay.
The reason being, Stitches can hook people and win entire games on their own. The flip side is a really good Stitches maybe win some games, but an average Stitches can lose games. So it's kind of like you want to prevent just kind of losing that random game because at 24 minutes, your Vala or whatever got hooked from max range and you lost because of it. So you ban Stitches to deal with, to get rid of some of the RNG factor. Is the general answer.
Well, going deeper into the draft, the Nazebo being picked up from FKC, and I felt like there was two main storylines of that last match, Sheth. And the first one was that FKC simply didn't have the damage to deal with the large amounts of sustain that Actions per Minute had. Their coordination in team fights was okay at best. There was a couple times where they did land good Void Prisons, but then Mosh Pit would be used a little bit prematurely on top of a Rain of Vengeance. They weren't chained together in a way that was, the most optimal, where the most damage is done and the most optimal timing, et cetera, et cetera. And I felt like unless they landed perfect heroics in succession with very crisp timings, that they weren't going to kill anyone. And that's exactly what happened. The second storyline being kind of relating to the first one, or an extension of that, is the Ravenous Spirits almost always went, if not full duration, damn near it, and were just absolutely destroyed the entirety of FKC. So I feel like maybe they're picking up on it. They don't want to deal with that again. The map is Dragonshire, ladies and gentlemen. They went ahead, got themselves a hands not only on the Tassadar, the good old buddy of Illidan, but also now the Nazebo. So I feel like FKC is drafting a little bit better. Actions per Minute, though, if you can't get an Illidan, or if you can't get a Tassadar with your Illidan, it seems like the next best bet is to pick yourself up a Rhaegar.
Yep. Rhaegar pretty much does the same thing as the Tassadar, potentially just a little bit different. Or just, it's less of a vision provider, so there is that. Task kind of can counter Zeratul, so by getting the task early, Insane Vultures, if they decide to go Zeratul this time, they'll have an easier job of it. Last time they had combo for the Void Prism, like they would dance and they would use Ball's ult, but that wouldn't do damage to the people in the VP. They just didn't hit the right people in the VP. So we're gonna have to see if they try and do something a little bit different. Instead of Vala's ult, they have Nazebo's ult. It's a little bit different. So far, I don't think they've really changed their lineup or changed the idea behind their lineup. Wouldn't be surprised to see Hammer as their last damage, and just I think if they're smart they take Malf here, but we'll have to see. I think Malf's the best healer left for them at this
Yeah,
stage.
I agree. And just because he synergizes so with the Witch Doctor, as you mentioned before, and
There
okay,
we
there you
go.
go. That's exactly what they're going to do, and that's definitely the smart pickup for him right there. Because if they were, going up against, I mean, what was the next option besides Malfa? Lily? That ain't going to happen. I guess a
Could go
Brightwing after
Tyrande.
that. But hey, what can you do? So there is the finalized draft. I was just about to say I thought APM was going to go with that Diablo once again, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Diablo and Illidan always seem to be like fighting compadres in the front line, as they both have a lot of dive, and they're very effective at getting into the back line and interrupting any channeled abilities that might potentially do a lot of damage, like a Nazebo. So I feel like they definitely have some tools to deal with the Nazebo in the backline. They got to be careful, though, because they don't have a cleanse to fall back on. There's no Uther, there's no Brightwing in play here. That's one thing they got to be careful about, is make sure they don't get root into on top of Psionic Storm and then all of a sudden just gets blown up. So that is the finalized pick for actions per minute with the Sergeant Hammer as well. FKC, what do they need right now, Sheth? What do you think is going to be the last pickup for him?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't understand their draft that much. I mean, they have a Tassadar, great. Tassadar seems to be like preventative. All right, we take it so they can't have it.
Right.
The Nazebo is like, all right, we're gonna take that so they can't have it. Then they take an ETC. They take Malf because they need a healer and it's the only one left.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they're building their team piecemeal of like, all right, we don't want them to have this, so we're gonna take
Yeah.
it.
That
So what's
definitely.
their idea here? It's like, all right, where's your damage? Storm is not enough damage. I mean, I don't necessarily think Nazebo ult by itself is enough damage. What damage is left here? Jaina? I don't know.
Ooh. I mean, maybe. I feel like one here, and obviously you have a much more informed opinion of this than I do, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong. You won't be the first nor the last. I feel like that Falstad is a little bit underutilized in their current meta. I know he was nerfed substantially with not getting rewind or not, but I feel like he definitely has a place sometimes, because now that when I do see Falstad being played, it's like very one-sided matches. Not to say that was attributed to the Falstad pick or anything like that, but no, holy cow, look at this, FKC picking up a Kerrigan. What do you think about that, man?
It makes the most sense out of what they have.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
They
I
definitely
didn't
have
I didn't
some.
like the Jaina idea. I like the Kerrigan idea.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think maybe about like a potential Raynar? I think maybe Zagara as well, or a Tyron could have fit in too. A Tyron maybe dealing with the backline, something like that. I don't know. But hey, they picked up the Kerrigan, and they have some. They definitely have the potential for some early game aggression here. Which on Dragonshire, obviously, that's always a good option to go with because the lanes are so close. You have a Tassadar in mid who can push down the lane. You can coordinate aggressive laning rotations are right there to right as the lane is pushed out in mid lane. Tassadar kind of goes down with the Kerrigan, and they're able to pick someone off. You get the vision with the Oracle, enables Kerrigan to get off a combo that she wants to do in good confidence because she has that vision. So they definitely have some potential for some early game pickups here, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kerrigan roam, Tass mid, Nazebo, Malf bottom, ETC top, and Kerrigan can kind of rotate between
Yeah.
mid and bottom. You can kind of start off with 4 in the mid and just push together. Actions per minute is going to kind of rely a little bit on Volla being able to E out, Tank using her W to knock back the Kerrigan whenever the Kerrigan goes in for ganks, and
Yeah.
Rhaegar just to keep them alive through it. Illidan kind of has to be afraid. Diablo kind of has to be afraid for whichever lane they're at, because it definitely seems like they're kind of going to be the weaker early game.
Yeah, definitely.
At 10, Hammer kind of starts to ramp up. So actions per minute, the late game team, Insane Vultures, pre-15 should be aggressive. They're not aggressive. They're not playing their comp right. You can't take a character and not play aggressive.
Right, exactly. Especially with the fact that she doesn't have rewind at level 13. Her mid game is, very subpar at best, I feel, with the rewind being taken away. Pre-13, she's pretty much the same exact hero. She does have a Tassadar to help support her, help her mitigate damage so she can get a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more into the front lines and not have to worry about getting absolutely destroyed. But I definitely feel like that if FKC, excuse me, if FKC doesn't do a substantial amount of damage in the early game, that it could just, I mean, if actions per minute plays defensively and doesn't get absolutely destroyed and picked off piece by piece by this Kerrigan, that they can just play a little bit defensive. Maybe they'll get level 10 a little later than normal, but then from there just kind of, take it, hit the mid-game stride, use their mid-game advantage that they'll have just by the fact that they're facing a Kerrigan, and just, get a late-game Dragon Knight, end up winning the game. But we're in the game. Sheth, are you actually in it, my man?
Wait, the game started?
Stop. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. You know what, man? Since you were in the last game, go ahead, introduce our teams.
Alright, on the right side, actually, I should ask, the right side is what, FKC? No.
The right side's actions per minute, left is FKC.
Alright, so with actions per minute, we have Mr. Savage on Diablo, Meadowtown on Rhaegar, Nomus being the Siege Tank, Sage on Vala, and Hao-Win on Illidan. And because, of course, I like fairness, why don't you go ahead and take the insane Vulture posse?
We have on the ETC Lilandu and Vala the Kerrigan. Neo playing Witch Doctor as Mr. Crozer on Malfurion. Don't know if that's how you say it, but damn it, that's how I'm going to do it. I like rolling my R's. Up in the top lane is going to be Lunar Wolf. So they're putting Tassadar in the top lane. Do you feel that's to contend with this Illidan, or maybe just, you know, I mean, having a good, what I call an off laner in this sort of position where, you know, solo lane position feels like it's a pretty big deal. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, a good Malfurion roots onto 3 of them, followed with the Kerrigan combination. Meadowtown laying down that very important level 1 healing ward that Rhaegar gets his hands on earlier than any other hero. No one goes down, though.
Yeah, let's be blunt. It's really hard to combo a lot of the Kerrigan, or the combos. Mouse combo can be hard. Neo did a beautiful job getting the roots, or the wall to hit 2 people, but then Kerrigan missed the stun, or just it wasn't possible to hit both people off the stun. And we didn't have a root on those people, so, you know, just didn't get to combo the roots that they needed, and so no kills.
Up in mid lane, Sage is going to get hit by the Impaling Blades. Again, the damage simply not there. So right now, we're only a minute and a half to this game. There were a couple opportunities for FKC to get a pick off here, but it's not happening quite yet. But I want to talk about the Tassadar going top a little bit. Obviously, anytime you always have the 3v3 in the bottom lane, and anytime you kind of have that tri-lane versus tri-lane situation, that means your other lanes are going to be in a solo position, which means you need to put strong solo lane heroes. And that's why, obviously, Tassadar is a very good solo lane hero. Vala, in her own right, can be. And that's, I feel the Tassadar is actually a pretty good decision to put him in the top lane, though. In the bottom lane, Nomus is very, very low. Sage is rotating down to the bottom lane to protect his buddy. Looks like he's going to get a clean getaway. That was very, very close for him. Just what we used to see. A lot of rotations down here into the bottom and a lot of contention and posturing in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Crozer missed the roots, and like ETC kind of knocked him out of it or something like that. Just not really possible to do it again if you miss some of the roots. That was beautiful though. They put the wall, they, you know, didn't let him out, and they punished the Diablo a little bit out of position.
So, first blood going the way of the KFC, as chat chat keeps calling them the KFC, the FKC. Okay. Insane Vultures, and that, I mean, they are able to get the first blood, but once again, I feel like this Kerrigan hasn't done much yet, and the later that this game gets to the mid-game, the more potential that Action per Minute has to just winning almost by default if they don't get enough damage done. The shrines are up for both of these teams, but this early on in the game, no team is going to bend over backwards to try to get a 3-minute Dragon Knight. It's kind of more of a reprisal gift than it is anything else anytime you see early game Dragon Knights. And yep, they're not going to, you know, go all ham 5 men in the mid for any sort of Dragon Knight. That's not going to do too much damage. Normally, Dragon Knights this early maybe get a tower or 2 out of it, which now that towers get experience can translate into a little bit of an advantage, but nothing too big.
Yeah. FKC or KFC just not quite able to get those combos. You know, let's just say that like it definitely seems like APM is used to Kerrigan, and they've played really well defensively. They haven't gotten caught out where they shouldn't be. Diablo's playing fine. Illidan now is even getting knights. Just a great play so far by APM to, you know, just not lose to the Kerrigan. We've seen so many good teams lose to the Kerrigan, and they're doing a great job so far. If not,
it seems like they being actions per minute, they've been really fluid with their rotations as far as getting people out, you know, into the lane that needs to be there for an effective soak, dealing with any sort of push anytime there's a 1v1 situation that they don't feel is optimal for them. I mean, they definitely have been switching up these lanes quite a bit, specifically between top and bottom. Illidan fell back to get the Bruiser camp. That obviously was a coordinated maneuver because Diablo went up to top lane to make sure they didn't miss out any soak. So a lot of good rotations on the back lines, more of in a defensive manner. Good rotations to make sure that they are being as optimal and efficient on the map, getting the mercenary camps, while at the same time soaking all three lanes right there. Level 7 is here for both teams. Looking at this talent, it looks like some pretty standard stuff across the board here, Chef.
Yeah, still no battle momentum on Diablo. I think that's the more common one if you take APOC, but not a huge deal. Everything else seems relatively standard, like you said. Gibbon, not Yule. That's kind of one of the debatable ones, but no big deal.
Now, APOC I feel actually would be pretty good here because there is a Witch Doctor on the other team. What do you think about that?
People do say that. It's a common idea. I personally have never been a fan of it, to be quite honest. Just because APOC takes a little bit of time, right? So you got, what, 3 seconds or so of Nazeebo's ult getting off? Just about for sure. And 3 seconds from Nazeebo's ult, usually all he really needs to do just enough damage. So hypothetically, you're changing one ult for another ult, but instead of doing the same amount of damage, you're just only really knocking out the Nazeebo.
Right.
Whereas the Nazeebo hits everyone. So
that's a very good point.
I've never been a huge fan of it, to be honest. I think having Lightning Breath for this Kerrigan and for the ETC, I don't know. I personally would rather have that, but again, that's just I'm probably in the wrong here. I'm definitely the different opinion than most of these top teams playing at the moment. Okay.
Well, it is going to be the APOC after all. Level 10 here is for both teams. Also, a Rain of Vengeance coming out from the Vala. And over on the other side of the map, looks like pretty standard stuff. It's going to be a stage dive this time around. Obviously, APOC could be somewhat of an ability to deal with stage dive as well, but obviously that's a little situational. The Diablo A has to not be in the stage dive. And the, you know, I feel like the stage dive, using APOC for stage dive is kind of the same situation with the Ravenous Spirit. If you hit a stage dive, that small delay, the damage is going to get done, even if it's only for 2 or 3 seconds. So, but they're going with that nonetheless. I'm sorry, not the stage dive, the mosh pit. You know what I was saying. You know what I was talking about.
I was confused because he did take stage dive, like, so he doesn't have mosh. Yeah, against mosh pit, definitely it would be something there. That was actually a beautiful APOC.
It was, but unfortunately the follow-up simply not there, as this is a 3v4 situation. Actions per minute are definitely feeling confident because they just fought into a 3v4. Obviously, they saw that 4-man APOC. I'm sure their eyes got real big all of a sudden and went, let's go in on this. But unfortunately, being down a man, they didn't have the damage or what it took to get any kills off of them. Now APOC is on cooldown. It's a fairly long cooldown with 120 seconds. As you mentioned, he didn't go that battle momentum, so that's 90 seconds of no APOC, and FKC has to, use this opportunity appropriately to maybe get something done here. They are rotating hard down to the bottom lane. They did have an opportunity to pick up the Sergeant Hammer. They forced out the Ancestral Healing. That's going to be on cooldown for the better part of a minute, but still, actions per minute, ahead by level, about to get level 13, and are definitely have, done an exceptional job at weathering the storm of an early game Kerrigan.
Yep. If you're level ahead of a Kerrigan, entering the mid game of a Dragon Knight, you generally feel pretty good. You still have to be careful. Bushes are very good for Kerrigan. She can pop out, surprise you. If she had the Vampire Bat Kerrigan, it's even more surprising. But it is a Master Skin Kerrigan, so that works just as well.
So now they have level 13, and this is officially the time where Kerrigan starts to taper off a little bit. So actions per minute are absolutely in a very good situation going into the mid game. Looking at the level 13 talents, continuation of the multi-shot build, no surprise there. Meadowtown gets caught out in the roots. Pretty good roots right there, but unfortunately Rhaegar, he is a quick one with the Ghost Wolf, so he's going to be able to get away cleanly, no problem. The Giant Killer on Sergeant Hammer. I do see Giant Killer every now and then. Do you feel like that's the right choice in this situation?
It's the standard pick now.
Okay.
The only thing that's a little bit different about this Hammer's build is every single team in Titan's Arena picked Resilience as the first talent, which just makes you, kind of makes you immune to damage. Everything else is the same. Immune to stuns and that stuff. So Nomus is just going for a little bit more damage, just increases the bonus damage from long-range hits. Not the worst of choices, and probably nice against the other team. The other team really doesn't have that many roots other than Kerrigan. Pretty much only Kerrigan.
So down in bottom lane, FKC had 3 people, Action Sprinted had 2. The Rhaegar and the Sergeant Hammer, they were actually able to force out the Tranquility from Malfurion. So now there's no Tranquility online for 1 minute and 10 seconds. The actions per minute, I don't know if that was maybe a little bit of a misclick. I didn't catch if there was a strong initiation on someone, but now obviously that's a very good opportunity for them, knowing that the Tranquility is on cooldown. Up here in top, Sage, the Maelstrom is being popped on top of an Envenom. There's the combination they were looking for, but I feel like it might be about 8 minutes too late, having to force a Maelstrom out using an Envenom, a 4v1 gank. And that's only the second kill of this match so far. If actions per minute keeps up this defensive play, ramps up to that late game where I feel like they definitely have a little bit of an advantage, especially with that Illidan factor going into it. They are just playing real smart this game and continue to play like that. They'll definitely be way ahead. I will say, though, that FKC has something this game they didn't have last game, and that's a shrink ray from the Tassadar for the Illidan.
Yeah, that's very helpful, for sure. At this point, Malf also got Ice Block, which will let him just kind of be immune from any damage. It's basically just Kin Mouse healing Keith Kerrigan alive while the rest of the team does damage. And Kin is able ult to get off with not a problem, or is APOC up and can the Vala and the Illidan stay alive damage.
Well, unfortunately, Kerrigan just got completely caught out of position and going down there. Malfurion does have an ice block. He's going to use that ice block, but I feel like he's dead to rights. You cannot resist that right there. He's going to get taken out. Was about to make a Star Trek reference. Went ahead and belayed that order. And now level 16 is here. 4 actions per minute. They are looking real dominant. 3 for nil exchange. Finally getting themselves on the board, but that was the name of the game since the early game, and we talked about it. As long as they play defensive, they were able to weather the storm of a Kerrigan, and now it just seems like they're on autopilot cruise control right now, man. They got the Sergeant Hammer with the mobile, the hover siege mode, so don't always have to worry about being static all the time. Doesn't have to worry about those Kerrigan initiations quite as much. She's still pretty damn slow, though, and has a lot of tools to deal with it regardless. They're pushing down. They get these tier 2 towers bottom lane. Kerrigan kind of going in there YOLO. Got to be careful, though, because Illidan can easily dodge any sort of impaling blades if he's smart about his choice of using his Q or W. And there was a first dragon. Forgot to mention that. There is a dragon on this map. Don't forget about that, guys. And this whole time, it's been pushing down top lane.
Yeah, kind of a bait. Like, all right, we'll give you DK. We'll just kill your whole team. It's not ending now. The rest of the team is definitely a little bit tilted here. Like, all right, we messed up. What do we do now? And then no one's giving an answer to it. My guess. It could just be that you know, they're just not really sure what to do because there isn't that many great options other than sit and wait for the whole team to be up. They are now 2.5 levels down. If you're the Kerrigan team, getting this far down here is definitely going to be tough. They have to kind of sit and make plans, set up traps, and look for picks, etc.
Yeah, and the whole time while they were, you know, the dragon was up there kind of not doing much. I mean, he didn't even get the fort. Yeah, you got the tier 1 towers. The fort's still at 2/3 HP. So while they were able to get a Dragon Knight, they didn't really do much of anything. And in the meantime, actions per minute were able to jump on the opportunity. They got a kill onto the ETC. They forced a Malfurion Tranquility, and then got the fort right here in the mid lane. So they're definitely playing to the map, playing well, and just like I said, it seems like they're just on cruise control right now. Okay, Kerrigan's no longer that big of a factor. We can just group up, start 5-manning, and let's get ourselves an easy 2-0.
Yep, they're looking good, playing aggressive on the map, working together, rotating together. You can tell they have confidence, and until I've like kind of prepared this basic comp with an Illidan, so they're playing it very nicely, very well.
Top lane Linderwolf has got to be careful. He is a Tassadar. I don't know if they're going to dive underneath this fort right here, but they are going to get the Bruiser Camp, and this might be the cue that they needed to go into this, and that's exactly what they're going to do. The Bruiser Camp obviously taking up a lot of the shots from these, and this is going to be the last out lane fort that FKC has. So now they're constricted to the map vision inside of their base. Bottom lane, meantime, getting pushed in by the other Bruiser Camp that they were picked up down there. Kind of what was coined as the horseshoe by Forecourt Jester down there in the bottom lane. So right now, just, I mean, map pressure in all 3 lanes. They're rotating across the map. The next shrine, a 13, 14-minute Dragon Knight. They're level 19 on the cusp of hitting level 20. Big power spike for every single hero on the side of that. Do you think we're going to see Nexus Blades from Sergeant Hammer or the Infinite Range Ultimate?
Nexus Blades is generally what you want. Or Nexus Fury, excuse me.
I just wanted to say Infinite Range Ultimate, that's all.
But it's not the complete Infinite Range. It's not the big gun BFG, right?
Man, I know. I want to know. You telling me this right now because I know, but I just want to hear it come from someone else. All right. BFG, it's like a a Hinterland's Blast, but on a shorter cooldown. It does about the same amount of damage, and then it becomes a global. I'm like, how good is that, man? That's so good. I'm just kidding. I'm not pushing that one. That's we all know why that we aren't going to be seeing that picked up anytime soon. Well, what about this? A Void Prison into a BFG and a Hinterland's Blast and a Precision Strike. Come on.
Could work. No healer strategy.
Well, a stage dive was used in the mid lane. Actions per minute, once again, just domineering themselves across this map, continuing that trend. Stage dive was used from the ETC as a delay tactic. Unfortunately, it was just a couple seconds too late. Now the Dragon Knight being picked up, Tranquility being forced, and an Ice Block. There's no stage dive. They don't have to worry about any backline initiations. My GPU hates itself as my frame rate drops. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, this is just a strong siege moment they have down here in the mid lane. The tier 2 towers are down. They got their eyes on that keep. Sage has got to be careful. He's getting real low. I'm sure he'll get healed up in just a moment. I think what they're waiting here, Chef, correct me if I'm wrong, they're waiting for that level 20 talent, and then it's going to be go time.
They're waiting for a good situation plus that, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. And they have Knights pushing top. They're doing work there. The Hammer also just pushes really well without
Yep.
the dragon necessarily going in. They wasted a bunch of ults out of KFC, so at this point they're just like, all right, come into us if you want. If not, we're gonna take your keep. Thank you very much. That's pretty much the scenario.
Yep, they're just slow sieging it. They're utilizing that Sergeant Hammer with the hover mode appropriately. The Dragonite is kind of sitting as a big distraction, an invitation. Come on, guys, try to initiate on it, see what happens. And they obviously want nothing to do with that. They're able to get the mid keep without much of a contention at all. Top lane is now susceptible to getting pushed down. Those tier 2 towers just about to go down. KFC, they need Colonel Sanders to come up here and give them a little bit of a pep talk because it is not looking good for them whatsoever here. Looking at the level 20 talents, no surprise to anyone. Bolt of the Storm on Vala, as you called it. No infinite range. It's going to be the Nexus Frenzy coming out from... What did I say? Nexus Blades. Nexus Frenzy coming out for the Sergeant Hammer. Storm Shield from Diablo. I didn't even know Diablo would get Storm Shield at level 20. That's quite incredible. Meanwhile, stage dive into the backlines, followed by a Ravenous Spirit. Is this the moment that FKC was looking for? I don't know. They got the fried chicken, but can they stomach it and eat it down? Middletown is very, very low, using the shield to keep himself up. Rain of Vengeance is now on cooldown. There's the Ice Block with the Tranquility, but Kerrigan does go down. The Ancestral Healing was used, but that is going to fuel the tank, refuel the tank for them to go ahead and do the turnaround that they're looking for. Crozer's going to go down now. No Ice Block being... Ice Block already being used. Neo is going to put his Nikes on, put his invis on, hit that sprint button, but an immediate reinitiation from Mr. Savage on top of him. That is a 3 for nil, soon to be possibly a 4. They might get a kill onto the Diablo, but guess what? He's Diablo. He's going to be back real soon, and this is looking great for actions per minute. This might be the nail in the coffin, or should I say the nail in the chicken bucket, and they are just going to go down to the score, take this game 2-0 in a rather convincing fashion.
Yep, very nicely played. They actually kind of won that fight mostly 4v5 with Illidan not there. Came in for the end. It's like, all right, it's free food, and that was it.
Some free food, indeed. Everyone loves free chicken, Sean. Everyone loves some free chicken. Well done by actions per minute. Taking a very convincing 2-0 over the Peruvian team FKC and Sane Vulture. We will obviously be seeing them later on as the tournament goes on all the way until May. Definitely have a long road ahead of us here, Sean. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. What are your final thoughts about that series and that match?
Very well played by actions per minute. FKC looked a little bit disjointed, maybe a little bit not quite on the same page, but it's just really, you could only tell it because APM played so well. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, guys. Once again, I am Shingucher. Following me right now, or not following me. I don't know. Are you following me on Twitter? I don't know. With me is my good co-caster. He doesn't need much of an introduction. Cloud9 Sheth. Stay tuned, guys. Once again, thank you for your support from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight and spending your time. Right about 300 viewers, and I absolutely love it. We're going to be coming up with the last best of 3 of the night. Let me bring up my notes here, and that is going to be between Cloud9 Vortex, obviously a team that you're familiar with, Mr. Sean, and a team called Shots and the Bullets. And what this team is, it's a new team that came out of Heroes Hype Arcane. Both of the Heroes Hype teams disbanded for a variety of reasons that I'm not really sure for what, but obviously something happened. Wish the best of luck to them nonetheless. It's former Heroes Hype Arcane members. It's got familiar names on it. Players like Pythix, players like Shots, obviously, Barcode, Base Drops, members like that. And I'm looking forward to see what they bring to the table because I recognize a lot of those names. We'll see if they can put up a fight against the well-seasoned and veteran team of Cloud9 Vortex. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be coming at you with that in just a moment. Thank you for hanging out with us.